Hi, everybody. This is Bob Gale, co-creator of Back to the Future, and you're listening to Brad Gilmore.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now?
Doc! Okay, relax, Doc. It's me. It's Martin.
Oh, it can't be. Just sent you back to the future.
Yeah. Oh, I know you did send me back to the future, but I'm back. I'm back from the future.
Great Scott.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
The way I see it, if you're gonna build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
Whoa, this is heavy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Back to the Future, the podcast, season 11. I'm your friend in time, Brad Gilmore. And oh, what a time it's been, guys. You know I've been in and out on the pod for the last several months. Had a lot of stuff going on in my life. We all do. You know, and I'm just excited to be back here today to talk to all my favorite pinheads from all across the world. Who, you know what? I'm always surprised. One of the things that surprises me most about this show is that I get texts and not texts, but what do you call it? Emails. Emails are like text, right? Everything's a text nowadays, a message. I get messages from pinheads all over the world, man. Always like, hey, just started the podcast. And you think, okay, cool. That's awesome, man. I'm glad that people are checking it out. And then all of a sudden you get like the realization, the lightning strikes your brain that, oh, we're like 10 years into this thing. You know what I mean? We're like a lot of years into Back to the Future, the podcast. And so because of that, it's always kind of crazy to get, people saying that they just started listening to something that I did 10 years ago. And then if you go back, I challenge anybody right now to go back and listen to an early rendition of this podcast. Because when you do, you hear the aging of my voice over the last 10, going on 11 years of this show. And this was never my intention. For people who don't know, the show started for like two reasons. One, I wanted, because it was 2015, I wanted to do something around Back to the Future on my podcast, which was really a hip-hop podcast. The Brad Gilmore show at the time. It was interviewing local Houston hip-hop artists. And then I was like, oh, I could do like a 4, 5, 6 episode arc of a Back to the Future retrospective on the Brad Gilmore show. And then boom, do it that way. And then when I started getting all these interviews really early on with Claudia Wells, with Jason Aaron, with Cassine Gaines, with Jeffrey Weissman, with Kevin Pike, I go, well, these also should live somewhere aside from a Houston hip-hop rapper feed. And so that's when I made the Back to the Future, the podcast feed, because nobody else had a Back to the Future podcast at the time. And I thought that was crazy. And boom, here we are, 11 years later, 2 books later, which, by the way, if you haven't gotten the new version of my book, Why We Love Back to the Future, 40 Years of Fandom, Flux, Capacitors, and Timeless Adventures, with a foreword by Mikey Day and an introduction from Harry Waters Jr., who played Marvin Berry in the film. Go ahead and get that on Amazon or at where's my website? BradGilmore.net? I think it's .net. Because someone else has .com and he just won't give it up. But today on the show, I always try to work Back to the Future into any interviews that I'm doing, and I do a lot of cool stuff for some of my other endeavors. And I got a chance to talk to Jason Segel from, of course, you know him from Forgetting Sarah Marshall, from Freaks and Geeks, from How I Met Your Mother, and he's back with Shrinking Season 3. And Shrinking Season 3, it stars himself and Harrison Ford's going through a Parkinson's diagnosis. And this season, they add Michael J. Fox to the cast. So I get to talk to Jason Segel about that. And then right after that, I talked to a good friend of mine, Brad Meltzer, who is a comic book writer, children's book author, a fiction writer, a nonfiction writer, super genius guy. I first saw him on a show called Decoded back in the day. And he has a new book called The Viper, but we talk about Back to the Future in that interview for a little bit as well. So check it out. Jason Segel, Brad Meltzer, Back to the Future, the podcast.
I'm telling you, this sounds
Brad
a
Gilmore,
joke.
ESPN, Houston Press, and the CW. Jason,
Thanks so much, man, for taking the time. Good to see you again. Congrats on season 3.
Hey, man, thanks a lot. It's nice to meet you.
Yes, yes, yes. You know what? Look, man, obviously this show has captivated, the imaginations of so many, and the audience has become loyal. For me personally, watching the show, having my grandmother gone through Parkinson's, and I've seen the slow play of it, and saw how it started and how it finished. It is so tough, but to be able to display that and find the levity of those moments, I think it's such a fine line to walk that y'all do so greatly.
Thanks a lot. I think at its best, our show harkens back to the tone of like those James Brooks movies like Broadcast News in terms of endearment, where the only way we make it through some of these situations is to laugh through them. And you know what? That's my experience of life also, is some of these things are funny as you're going through them. A breakup is being funny. You know what? I had food poisoning this weekend, which is like as unpleasant thing as you can have. And it was like hilarious. If you can have an out of body experience while it's happening, you're throwing up, and like it's just like horrible, and it's loud and it's uncomfortable. And that's true of any of these life things we're going through. They're horrible, but they're also funny if you can have the right view of them.
Yeah, I just saw that clip that went viral of Conan and Will Arnett talking about, I don't know if you saw it, of after Conan's father passed away, Will Arnett texted him, and then Conan said, yes, all Jason Bateman's fault. And I mean, you have to see the clip,
how
but
funny.
it was really funny, and Conan was saying the same thing. I have to laugh through this. I have to laugh through this experience. What else am I going to do? And then when you go through it on the show, it's done so well. But I have to tell you, my favorite movie of all time is Back to the Future, which is many people's favorite movie of all time.
It's a perfectly written movie. Yeah.
It's a perfectly written movie. Bob Gale knew what he was doing. I loved it so much. I actually wrote a book about it that came out this year.
Oh, cool.
And Michael J. Yeah, man. I really, really love the film. And for Michael J. to be involved in this, not only what he's done for Parkinson's research, but then to be involved in the show now. You got to tell me, what was it like working with Mike?
I only got to do one scene with him, but you'll appreciate this then. The thing that meant most to me is I got to go say to him, hey man, I just want you to know that as a young guy in my 20s, when I was trying to do a TV show and make a movie at the same time, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to stay standing during it, we would all say to each other, Michael J. Fox did it. And to be able to tell him that, because I don't know that I would have gotten through it if I didn't know that it was possible. If I didn't know someone else had done it and like both were incredible, I probably wouldn't have tried,
Yeah. I mean, he was doing Family Ties in the day, Back to the Future at night, and makes it out. And what a great guy. But was it a little bit of a surreal? Had you met him before?
I'd never met him before. Look, man, my whole life and career are surreal. I find myself in these situations where I'm surrounded by people I really admire, and I'm acting with them, which is like, it's its own surreal, floaty experience. And I'm just like the luckiest guy in the world.
Coming into a third season, after you've laid the groundwork, the first one, you've reestablished and kind of raised the bar in season 2, great trilogy. Sometimes that third one, that can be a difficult task. It can be a difficult lift at times. How did you feel going into season 3? Did you feel like, we have something really good here to be able to deliver?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Bill Lawrence is a genius. Brett Goldstein's a genius. Our writing staff, Neil Goldman, who runs the room, is just like these amazing men and women who are writing this show have given us material that we don't really have to mess with when it arrives. Every once in a while we improv because something interesting happens or something, you're present, but like if you just read these scenes, they're heartbreaking and beautiful and funny and all of that stuff. So I like caught the best train in town,
You really did. Someone said that you're born in one day, you die in one day, so you got to live in one day. And I think that the show really captures that.
Wow.
And yeah, it does it so well. So Jason, man, I really appreciate you taking the time. Congratulations on all your success. Truly, it was an honor to speak with you.
Hey, likewise, man. Thanks a lot.
Have a good one.
You too.
And he's joining me right now to talk about the new book, The Viper, a fast-paced thriller of family bonds and deadly conspiracies. The author himself was back on the program, Mr. Brad Meltzer. Brad, how are you, sir?
Good to be back, my friend.
Congratulations, obviously, on the book. I mean, look, I don't know how you would feel about this, but how do you feel about the word prolific? Because I feel like it's an apt description of your output. It's incredible how much that you're able to get out, especially a novel. How do you feel about that word?
I like the word. I think it actually over describes because I look prolific because we have a lot of books out, but a lot of them are kids' books.
Yeah.
So this novel used to take me 2 years to do. This last one took me 4 years to do because we did so many kids' books. But everyone's like, "Oh, you're so fast, you're so fast." I'm like, "No, no, no. I just fooled you because I did like 6 kids' books in 2 years, but they're only 30 pages, whereas a novel is 350 pages of your soul that you're throwing into something."
When you've worked in fiction and nonfiction, obviously, and put out a lot of great books in the nonfiction realm, but when you talk about a novel itself, starting off on that, where does the germ? I know this is book 3, but where does the germ of the idea start, and how long until you actually start putting pen to paper or fingers to keys in order to start writing the story out?
Yeah, so let's talk about the Viper. Viper
Yeah.
starts, easy premise. A man walks into a funeral home carrying his favorite blue suit. He's got a terminal disease, and this is the suit he wants to be buried in. And if you go to your local bank and you open up a safety deposit box, paperwork gets filed. It means the government can eventually track it. Same thing if you go to the UPS store, you open up a PO box. But if you secretly sew something into the lining of your suit and you hand that suit over to your local mortician, you have an ultimate untraceable hiding spot. So the man goes back to his hotel, leaves the funeral home. There's a guy with a gun waiting, says, "Where is it?" The man says, "I don't know what you're talking about." Shoots the man dead. That suit's still in the funeral home. You won't believe what's hidden inside it or who's about to find it. And that's chapter 1 of The Viper, right? That's the plot. And you don't have to read any of the other books. I know it's third in the series, whatever. They're all standalones. Like any good, you pick it up. And that's that's the start of it. But that's the plot. And then you got to add some research, and then you got to add your soul. And we can talk about each of those one by one, but that's the nugget that I begin with.
So you start with that, and then where does that come from, though? So is it just you're trying to figure out where you want to go into the next thing? Do you see a story? Do you read something? Is there a piece of information in a book or a documentary where you find out
Like
about
where
this
I get
mortician?
that from? Yeah, I mean, I was in a funeral home. I everything's research. So I was like, okay, let me see if I'm going to write about a mortician because I was kind of obsessed with like, what is this job? I went to a funeral home. Guys walking me around the funeral home. Usually you go to a funeral home and it's not for the right reason. You don't want to be there.
Sure.
I'm there in the bright of day. And the guy, he shows me, here's where the caskets are, here's where the urns are, here's where the bone saws are. And you're like, okay, that's creepy. But he passes one door that has a giant padlock on it. I'm immediately like, what's in there? The one place we can't go. And he says, oh, you're going to like this. And he takes out a key, opens up the padlock, door swings wide. And inside are all these old clothes, like clothes your grandparents would wear if they went to like a fancy affair, like this, like a double-breasted jacket that looks like it's from the 70s. There's a sequin gown that your grandmother wore to the big wedding. And he said to me, if you're old and you have no family, people pick out what they want to be buried in. And there's also like Jets jerseys in there. There's a guy with a cowboy hat because he says, my ex-wife hates this hat so much, make sure she sees me buried in it in the coffin. Like one last knife to his wife. Like people are crazy. But Brett, I see that. And on that day, I was like, this is the best hiding spot I've ever seen. It's the only thing you can't trace anymore. And so I play with that. Right. Then I just add what I like in terms of kind of the bigger research. Like I'm like, what am I obsessed with? I've taken readers into the tunnels below the White House. I've taken them into the labyrinth below the Capitol. For this book, I was like, I want to know more about witness protection. I've never done witness protection before. One of the hardest things I've ever researched. And if you think of witness protection, what do you think of? You think of the mob, right? You think of the end of Goodfellas. You think of like Tony Soprano, and that's what witness protection was actually created for. Take down the mob, have mobsters testify against other mobsters, then you go and hide him. And that's the big group that's in witness protection, a bunch of mobsters. And it works. It actually works. But it doesn't mean that crime was done, right? It just means mobsters' power went down. But other things took its place. So suddenly the big group that was in witness protection were gang members because gangs started to thrive. And then 9/11 happened and we started chasing terrorists terrorists became one of the biggest groups in there. You want to know who one of the biggest groups in witness protection is now?
Who's that?
It's accountants, right? Because information is king, data is king. And I love the fact that when you read The Viper, this thriller, you'll never look at witness protection the same way again.
Well, it's fascinating subject to think about because I guess inherently witness protection is meant to be non-researchable, right? And it's meant to be.
That's the thing, by definition, save the people's lives. But again, that's the. I'm going to give you a more real answer than just like I can keep telling you all the things I research to try and impress you and make you go like, wow, Brad's got it all figured out. But here's the honest truth. The last thing that I put in The Viper as a novel, the very last line that went in there was the first thing you read in there. There's an opening quote right before chapter 1 starts. And it's a quote that says, I don't believe in closure. I'm not sure we ever really get over anything. When I read that quote, it's just like, boom, it was like knocked me in the chest, right? Like a harpoon. I was like, why is that hitting me so hard? And I traced it back actually to my dad of all things. And my dad was kind of like this ball of chaos. And when I write a book, I don't really know every single thing I'm putting in it. It's when I'm done with it that I'm like, what's bothering me throughout this whole book? Because what's bothering me eventually bothers the characters. We can only be ourselves. And my dad, I'll say it this way. I don't think I was going to tell this story, but I'll tell it. So when I was in college, graduating my senior year at the University of Michigan, I went to register for classes senior year. And they said to me, you can't register, you're kicked out. So what do you mean? They said, your bills haven't been paid. I'm like, oh, Dad. My dad was just, he didn't have a great education, always bad with money. And they send me downstairs to the registrar. This nice woman down there was like, you know what I can do? Let me see if I can get you a really fast loan, a 1% loan, so you can at least graduate on time. Just sign here. She gives it to me right there. Quicksand that I'm sinking in suddenly becomes solid ground again. Figure it out. Graduate. The year I graduate, I switch my home address. Now all my mail from my real house is coming, from our home is coming to me now. And what quickly comes in the mail to me is $40,000 of credit card debt from credit cards, not a single one that I opened. That's how he was paying for my college. You know those ads they give to college kids saying, hey, sign up, man, we'll give you credit. My dad signed up for every single one of them in my name illegally. And he was trying to pay my bills. And it was a terrible plan because a credit card is a 22 to 25% interest rate. He could have had a 1% loan. So the thing's doubling and he's just sinking under the debt of it. And they tell me the only way that I can get out of it is I got to testify against my father. It's fraud. And I got to, basically it's illegal. And I'm like, I'm not ratting out my own dad. So we make deals with each credit cards. We pay them some overtime, And once again, quicksand becomes solid ground. But eventually you keep getting hit in the back of the head by surprise. You start looking over your shoulder. Here's the part I couldn't see in the story. Is my dad, and I said this story at his funeral, when he was little, my grandmother and my uncle told me these stories, and my dad did too. When my dad was little, he used to get beat up by his own dad, who was a boxer in the military. And I know my dad used to jump in front of his little brother and take the hits for him so his younger brother won't get hit. I know he jumped in front of his own mother so my grandmother won't get hit. And I couldn't see that that's what my dad was doing for me. He was trying to take the hits, the financial hits for me so I wouldn't have to take them, so I could become the first in my immediate family to go to a 4-year college and actually get out. But I couldn't see that detail because I was so focused on my point of view of the world, which was, you're just messing up my crap, Dad. You're just making so much headache for me that shouldn't be there. I couldn't see his good intention. And to me, what I finally realized right in this book, and I'm sorry to go on a little bit, but I felt like I want to give you an honest answer and not just a fast, trick one, is that closure is overrated. And to me, what you have to do is love yourself for who you are. Love your good parts and love your bad parts. Love your crazy relatives as well as the good ones. And that's what The Viper as a book gave me. And I didn't plan it. It's like what I saw over time. It gave me some forgiveness for my dad. Every character in the book is fighting with their past, looking at the past. And that's what's in the novel.
That's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. I really do appreciate it.
Only because I know you, dude. I haven't, it just felt like, it's true. That's the truth.
Well, and you know what? I mean, look, when I started writing stuff, the oldest, piece of advice they give you in writing, right, is write what you know. And obviously if you have felt it and you've experienced it firsthand, it's going to bleed through. It's going to come through in a character. And whether that's even in itself a way of closure in some ways, or just a catharsis would probably be a better way for it, of putting your real life into these novels or into these stories. I mean, it just makes them feel all the more real. I mean, that's the best kind of book or the best kind of film or the best kind of song is the one that we resonate with. And what better to resonate with somebody by them telling their story and finding some truth into it.
And I think what you said is exactly right. It's not just that it's why it resonates with you. The song you love most, the movie you love most, the book you love most. It's not because you love the character or the setting or the beat. It's not because you love Superman or Spider-Man or Atticus Finch or Dumbledore. Those books that you love most, those movies you love most, it's not just that they have a setting or thing you like. What they really reveal is they tell you something about yourself. They show you who you want to be. They show you something you miss, something you feel. They make you feel something about yourself, like an aspiration, or I can reach this new height. And those are the stories. And for me, again, not that anyone wants to be like under $40,000 of credit card debt, but I do think we all know what it's like to be that kid who's like struggling and just want to get out and prove and make something of yourself. That's something that, a lot of people who, when I talk about my dad now, are like, man, I had that. I can't believe how many people, I'm on book tour right now, have come to me and said, I think we got the same dad, and it's just like, and I know it's silly, but it makes me feel less alone. And I believe that they're saying it to me because it makes them feel less alone. And that's why we connect with that song that takes us back to a place and makes us feel that thing about ourselves.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I have to watch Back to the Future at least once every like 3 months.
We've never been closer.
It's my
When we
favorite.
do our kids' book, I Am Benjamin Franklin. Chris Eliopoulos, our artist, at the end is Benjamin Franklin's flying the kite. And he put Marty McFly and Doc in the back of I Am Benjamin Franklin, just as an Easter egg for someone who's like, where are my fellow nerds who understand us? And all these people are like, dude, Marty. I'm like, we're friends.
I got to send it to you because I actually published a book last year about Back to the Future. So I got to send you a copy because I think that you would appreciate
please.
it. But going back to the Viper, again, feeling those things, resonating with the story, and then also finding a unique way into it. Because my uncle was a mortician, and he's a very odd kind of guy too. To be honest with you, very strange person.
Oh, yeah.
And what he always said was, at least my customers don't complain, at my job. And that was his big joke for the family.
That was the running
always.
joke, right? The uncle joke. Yeah. The thing I found a different kind of mortician. I've done a lot of work with USO, and I've traveled all around the world with the USO. When the war was winding down, they were bringing 6 thriller writers every year to go entertain the troops because thrillers are among the favorite books over there. And so we would go to Kuwait and Oman and Qatar, and I've been to Turkey with them, and I've been to Cuba with them. They've taken me all over. And it was there I heard about this place called Dover Air Force Base. I was like, I didn't know what Dover was. We've all seen Dover. It's that place where when a soldier dies in action, that
Right.
flag-covered coffin comes off the plane and everyone salutes. But Dover's not just for fallen soldiers. It's a place where when the space shuttle exploded, all the astronauts' bodies went to Dover. On 9/11, all the Pentagon victims went to Dover. In fact, right now in Venezuela, all those CIA people that are doing work out there, and every CIA agent we have around the globe, something goes sideways, their bodies are going to Dover too, which means Dover's a place that's filled with secrets. And you know me long enough, I love secrets. And what I was struck by is the morticians there will spend 12 hours rewiring someone's jaw, smoothing it over with clay to make it look good again because a family says, I want to see my son one last time. Rebuild someone's hand because a mother says, I want to hold my son's hand one last time. And I was so struck. Some of them don't take overtime. They're just like, I need to show the dignity and respect that this person has given and made the ultimate sacrifice for this country. And that struck me, man. Like what good people do. And I was going to start this book and I was like, I got the book. I got it figured out. But I didn't have the second character. And I was on this tour with the military in this big, we're in this military base. And they took me to this warehouse. Like, Brad, you're going to like this warehouse. I'm like, okay. We're walking around the warehouse. And the warehouse is filled with framed art. They had like Adolf Hitler's paintings. They had all this art done by generals and colonels. I'm like, why does the Army have all this art of all things? It makes no sense. And they told me, and this is true, is since World War One, that the U.S. Army has had an actual painter on staff who paints disasters as they happen, whether it's storming the beaches of Normandy, whether it's Vietnam, whether it's 9/11. I'm like, you're telling me that everyone's racing in with guns blazing, and you've got someone who's racing with nothing but paintbrushes in their pockets. Like, that guy sounds crazy. I got to meet him. I want to meet him. And they said to me, you mean her? You want to meet her? It was a woman. Bias got the best of me, baby. And as soon as I heard it was a woman, I was like, there's my character. This crazy ass girl with the dragon tattoo woman who just will race into a disaster because she wants to paint it. And that's where I got my characters from, was like just finding these crazy jobs that I never even knew existed and saying, what kind of lunatic takes a job like this?
Incredible. Incredible. See, this is why I love talking to Brad Meltzer. This is why everyone's going to love the new book, The Viper. You know, Brad, always a pleasure speaking to you. I find that you find the most interesting aspects of people to go into, whether it be a job, whether it be an idea, whether it be an emotion. You're able to explore it all and do so well. So congratulations again on this book. I can't wait to see what you have next. What can you tease us? Do you have something in the pipeline?
Yeah. So, well, for those, I think this is perfect to segue from murder to children's books, right? But
yes, very
the next
good,
one that
easy.
comes out. I mean, as I tell you about murder, let me tell you about how to take care of your children. So I do a line of children's books. I've talked about them in the past.
Yeah.
I am Amelia Earhart. I am Abraham Lincoln. I wanted to do a book on empathy. And so the last book we did was a book on mental health. We did I Am Simone Biles.
Yeah.
It was vital for me to do a book on mental health. The book on empathy comes out in 2 weeks. It's I Am Princess Diana. And I'm really excited about that. And then if you look on my Instagram today, we announced today, like a couple hours ago, my new comic book is coming out that I'm writing from DC and Marvel. It's called Spider-Man and Superman Together. And they're taking both characters, and they do it every like 10 to 20 years. This year is the 50th anniversary that Spider-Man and Superman, you know, Superman's DC, Spider-Man's Marvel. The 50th anniversary and the first time they ever did a crossover. And Marvel asked me to write it. So that will be out in April. That's the best birthday present I think I'm ever going to get.
I cannot wait to read that. I mean, I was also such a fan when Stan Lee did his run of comic books with DC, where he reimagined.
Oh yeah,
Batman
Stan Lee
and
imagines,
Superman.
of course, yeah. No, I mean, and I obviously anyone who knows me knows I love this stuff, and so the fact I get to do like the Viper and then do Princess Diana and then do Superman and Spider-Man, like what, like my wife was like, when did you become Forrest Gump? Like she was just like, you are just doing such crazy ass, like all over the map things.
It's amazing. Well, you've had a great start to 2026. We're going to keep the train running. I can't wait to read that Superman Spider-Man book and the book on empathy with Princess Diana, which comes out in 2 weeks. And The Viper. Everybody go get your copy now. The incomparable Brad Meltzer. Brad, thank you as always, my friend.
Thanks, Brad.